Moving over to policy and parliament, cabinet. I understand when you say cabinet. I'm sure there's young people that don't understand when you say cabinet because they only know parliament. Can you explain what parliament and cabinet is?
I'm not a political scientist. No, I'm an economist.
But you should know.
Parliament is all the representatives in the National Assembly and in the what's the other one called, the two big assemblies. It's over 300 people, individuals. It's a whole bunch. Cabinet are the ministers and the deputy ministers and the director of the National Planning Commission. And I'm not sure if the governor of the Bank of Namibia is in there, but on that level, that is cabinet. It's 31 or 32 people.
A lot of young people don't understand, or they don't know what's the difference between cabinet and parliament. A lot of young people.
Cabinet governs the country.
Yes.
Parliament okays the legislation that cabinet needs or that they proposes to be able to govern the country. So and it's you're actually asking a very valid question because it's an important point to make, especially when it comes to policy. Yes, because the cabinet are representative of the party that they belong to. While Parliament is the representative of the people of Namibia.
Yes.
You cannot get into Parliament unless you belong to a party and unless you have been voted in as the preferred candidate in a specific constituency. You see, so and now I'm talking on main level government.
Okay.
You know that there's and it's one of the problems that we had, decentralization. For the better part of 30 years, all major policies have been decided by cabinet. So it's very centralized. The power there is very concentrated, but it is not necessarily a negative thing, because at least it gets the country moving.
Yeah.
In terms of setting priorities, implementing policy.
Yes.
But I think the checks and balances in our system are guaranteed, and Parliament is the main source of making sure that whatever it is that Cabinet wants to achieve, that it complies with the laws of Namibia.
Yeah.
And before they adopt a bill and vote for it, and before it becomes law, there's a whole long debate.
Yeah.
And you will often hear in the National Assembly that something is referred to a technical committee or a standing committee.
Yes,
Now, there's a standing committee on economics. And if something is contentious, then it gets referred. And it means that it is not approved immediately, and when it is referred to a standing committee, it is sometimes it is scrapped. Sometimes it is amended until a version of the bill becomes or is put before Parliament that is acceptable, and then it is voted in by Parliament.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that in terms of policy implementation, there's only so much we can do with the money that we've got. And this is the reality of policy.
Yeah.
This is why I chose to speak first about policy and budget, because policy can only be executed in terms of the capacity that is available to make that policy work. I mean, you can have all sorts of policies. I always I find it amusing if you look at the ANC's Freedom Charter in South Africa in 1964. Let there be houses. Wow. How? Here we sit 35 years after independence, and let there be houses hasn't produced a single house.
Yeah.
But people and organizations that have worked to execute government policy, they have produced houses. You see, so policy is not that vague political manifest. That's something like the Freedom Charter. Policy is that practical point-by-point plan of action. And I think perhaps the nicest example, because it guides everything else, is the national development plans.
Yeah.
And again, there we sit with the same constraint. We can only execute national development plans as far as the money that we have available. And we can go and design the most hilarious, most extraordinary development plans. If they cannot be funded, they get to nothing. Then they just become another manifest, without any executable power. So this is the whole thing about policy. It has to be practical, it has to be fundable, budget or donor countries or wherever, loan from the IMF, but it has to follow the steps from cabinet to parliament, national planning commission, back, gazetted, then it is law, then everybody can act on it.
And talking about steps, talking about law, we will be talking about law and policy and law right after the short break.